But I wanted to talk a little bit about Frogeye Leaf Spot. How many of you are familiar with this particular disease of soybean? Okay, this is a pretty common disease. Now, obviously, the weed scientists do a good job of controlling Frogeye Leaf Spot. Did you guys spray fungicides out here? No. Okay, so why do they not have Frogeye Leaf Spot out here? They grew a resistant variety, apparently, right? So plant pathologists like myself like to grow susceptible varieties so we can look at the efficacy of fungicides. So that right there tells you a big part of how to manage this disease is not just with fungicides, but also with choosing the right variety. So that will go a long way. But a little bit about this disease. This is a fungal disease. Unlike southern rust of corn that does not overwinter here, this one does. So this just overwinters in soybean residue that's out in the field. Crop rotation will also help with this, but when you have years where you have a lot of high relative humidity, a lot of moisture, even if you're in a rotated field, if you have a susceptible variety, you could still have problems with Frogeye Leaf Spot. Fungicides are definitely a way that we can manage this disease, but with a caveat. Back in 2010, we started to find strains of this fungus that are resistant to strobilurin fungicides. Okay, so basically, there's a couple of different chemistry classes that most fungicide products have in them. Usually, one of those is going to be a strobilurin fungicide, and the other one may be like maybe a triazole fungicide. There's a few other options as well. But back in the really the mid-2000s, when we started to spray a lot more soybean fields with fungicides, a lot of those products were things like Headline or Quadris that contain only a strobilurin active ingredient. So what we were doing back then was we were probably selecting out those individuals that were resistant to that group of fungicides, and now we have an issue with that. And so this map here just shows you all the states in which we have confirmed strobilurin resistant strains of that fungus. So really anywhere that you're seeing Frogeye Leaf Spot, you're likely going to have strobilurin resistant strains out there. It's been confirmed in Kentucky. Last year we did trials really kind of all over the state, and we found that when we sprayed a straight strobilurin active ingredient, it did not perform very well. And so that's really what this data are. Last year, this was funded by the Kentucky Soybean Association, and we were working with Claire Vennard, who conducts the soybean variety trials. And at each one of her locations, we had a trial where we looked at 3 varieties, one that was susceptible to Frogeye Leaf Spot, one that would be sort of moderately resistant, and one that was highly resistant to Frogeye Leaf Spot. And then on those 3 varieties, we either left it untreated, or we sprayed Headline, which in this case is a strobilurin fungicide, or we looked at a product that was a combination of a strobilurin and a triazole known as Quadris Top. What you're seeing here is across 5 locations. What you're looking at here is the level of Frogeye Leaf Spot. So the higher the bar, the more disease there was. And you can see here's the susceptible variety. Okay, you can see a lot more disease, moderate resistant. No bars there with the resistant variety. Okay, so that works very well. How about when we started to spray fungicides? We did see that on our susceptible variety, the only fungicide that worked was Quadris Top. Headline did not work. Why? Because we had strobilurin resistant strains across the state. If you look at yield response, that matches pretty closely with what we saw with disease control. Where we saw the significant yield response with the fungicide was when we sprayed a product that had a good triazole active ingredient in there on the susceptible variety. We did not see a significant yield response when we looked at those resistant varieties. Okay, so keep in mind that fungicides are not the only way to manage this disease, but really the best management comes when you start looking through the seed catalog and picking which variety that you want to grow.